Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Over Easy. My name is Manny, in case you're new here, or welcome back. Hope you're having an amazing day, amazing week so far. My name is Manny, in case you're new here. As I've said, this is my podcast. We talk about literally anything because my life is chaos and I am chaos. So the things I create are chaos. But today's episode is actually kind of a little bit different. It's a topic that I've been thinking about for a little bit, or it's something that sparked into my head. And then when I started thinking about it, I was like, actually talking about this and thinking about this out loud is kind of a good idea. But before we get into it, we're obviously going to start with a rosebud and thorn, as we always do for my episodes. A rose is something good that's happened to me this week. A bud is something I'm looking forward to. And a thorn is something that's not so good. Oh, I feel like mine are all super obvious today. Sometimes it takes me a while to think about it, but mine are really obvious today. My thorn is that it is currently snowing like heck a ton in Vancouver. I am looking out my window right now because the window's in front of me, and it is snowing like crazy. It already snowed, so today's Monday, the day I'm recording. On Saturday night going into Sunday morning, it snowed the entire night and then also basically snowed all of Sunday. So that was a lot of snow already. Then today, throughout the day, it paused snowing, but obviously there was still snow on the floor and stuff like that. And now it's snowing even more, and apparently it's supposed to snow another 10 to 15 centimeters tonight, which is absolutely crazy because the thing with Vancouver is once it starts snowing, this city has no idea what to do. People don't know how to drive. People don't know how to act. The city doesn't have enough infrastructure to prevent all the blockages and stuff like that. So everything gets delayed and people are driving super slow. Of course, it's important to be safe, but the way that this city gets impacted by one snowfall, it's crazy. So I really don't like the snow. I have not ever since I started driving pretty much because I realized, the snow is just super annoying. I love how pretty it is, of course. This morning when I was walking outside, it was like the fresh snow. No one stepped in it yet. It was beautiful. But once you start having to go to work and doing stuff, you're like, I don't really want this anymore. And it is really not convenient. So that's my thorn of the day. I think it's going to keep snowing for the next few days. So let's hope I don't get snowed in. Knock on wood. Okay, my rose is, you might notice that my video is a little bit brighter today. It's because I got a ring light. I got a new ring light for myself. I guess it's kind of for Christmas. One of my previous students got me a gift card, and I used it to buy myself a ring light. So I got that. It's been really nice because obviously my lighting for my podcasts are a lot better, and now I can film during the nighttime if I need to. I don't have to be glued to filming during the day. Also because, lighting is really off, especially because it's snowing and raining all winter. So it's really nice that my lighting can be really good anytime I want to record. And then also it's just been really motivating me to film some TikToks because the ring light has a phone holder attached. It's also on its own tripod, so I can attach my phone and film stuff, and it's been really nice. I've been really wanting to film TikToks and make some content, which is really good. That's kind of going to be one of my focuses for this next year, for 2023, which we will talk about next week. So yeah, that's my rose. My new ring light is amazing. I just love how good the lighting looks, and it looks really nice. I don't have my remote, but I would play with the colors, but honestly, it's too much work, and I'm just going to leave it as is. But you can make it colorful. It can be any rainbow color. You can change the tone of the white to be warmer or cooler and stuff like that. So this is a really high-tech ring light. I really like it, actually. Yeah. Okay, my bud, the thing that I'm looking forward to is every single Christmas. I honestly can't remember if we did it last year. I don't think we did because last year there was a really bad COVID variant. But basically, ever since high school, every single Christmas when all of my high school friends come back to Vancouver, we do a little thing called a mukbang, which is we all bring food. It's like a potluck, basically. We all bring food, we all hang out and just catch up and stuff like that, since I haven't seen these people in over a year almost for some of them. So that is happening this Wednesday, and I'm really excited about that because obviously I get to see a lot of high school friends again, get to catch up with them. And this year I feel like I've really noticed or taken in the fact that everyone's life is so different now, which is very crazy. You know, a lot of us have graduated university, we've started our jobs, we're all working in different industries, and everyone's life looks so different. We're living in different cities, countries, etc. It's just crazy. So I think I've like become really senti recently, or sentimental or nostalgic over the fact that, you know, like life is changing and everyone's growing up and life is getting different for everyone, which is kind of crazy. So I'm excited to see everyone again. Obviously excited to have some fun with people, just enjoy, spend time. It's also the holidays. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe I didn't say that. It's Christmas this weekend, so obviously looking forward to that because we get some time off to relax, spend time with family and all this stuff. So I'm very excited for this week and this weekend in general. Okay, so if you can tell by the title, today's podcast is going to be about intention versus outcome. I feel like this is something that is talked about a lot. When I was in my first year philosophy class, I had a section all about this. I mean, there are a lot of different ways of thinking about this, and this is just, I think, really polarizing for people. Like, you're either one or the other sometimes. You can sometimes be in the middle, but for most people, you're kind of just one or the other. So we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about which one I am, if I'm a person who focuses more on intention or if I'm a person who focuses more on outcome, and maybe what's the right thing, what is the proper thing to think about, and we're going to discuss some situations as well and what I would personally think in those situations. So just to make it super clear, so we're all on the same page, intention is obviously your aim or your plan with an action or what you want to say and stuff like that. It's basically the thought that goes into the action before it happens. Then your outcome is the consequence, which is what actually happens, what ends up happening because of the action, etc. All our actions don't always go to plan, and sometimes we have unpredictable consequences that come up. So consequences are what actually happen based on the action. So of course, there's always that thinking of what is the right thing to think about. Is it more important to think about intention or outcome? And I want to draw attention to the fact that it is we always have this discussion when an action goes wrong. Like, if something goes positively, we never think about if the intention or the outcome is more important. It's always just when things go wrong. And this is literally something I'm thinking about right as I'm just talking about this. Intention and versus consequences, this is never important unless the situation is something that is not good. Which I don't know if I like that. You know, maybe we should pay more attention to the fact that we need to pay attention to the intentions or the outcomes of our actions, because maybe we're just lucky that our actions are following according to plan, because obviously almost always things don't go according to plan, which is crazy. Okay, let's talk about my first example. My first example is using a person for personal gain. So I had this idea because I was thinking about, basically I grew up going to a private school, and private schools are, I guess, in my area in Vancouver, are more known for kids who have parents that are more well off, and usually that means they're like higher up in their companies or whatever else they do. So it was not abnormal at my private school to meet people's parents who were CEOs of really big companies that were like household names. They were in charge of like stores across Vancouver and stuff like that. I'm thinking of one in particular that's really famous. There's a really famous clothing store, and the daughter of the CEO of that brand went to my high school. She wasn't in my grade, but she went to my high school. And so when you meet people like that and become friends with them, there is almost always like personal gain that you can have, right? I know for a fact, like, for example, I have a friend, I have a friend whose parents owned a bubble tea shop. And so one of the benefits that I got as her friend was that I would get free bubble tea or desserts and stuff like that when I went to the shop with her, when I was like spending time with her. Another thing is I have another friend that owns a retail store, and obviously you get like friends and family discounts when you know people that work there, stuff like that. You might get even bigger discounts than regular people might get. I don't know. So there's always stuff like that. So as someone who knows this about someone else, like say for example, I knew that the girl's dad was the CEO of this huge clothing company, and I wanted to be her friend because I knew that she'd be able to get me free clothes. My intention would be to use this person as a means to an end. Like I'm just using her not for her friendship, but for her ability to give me free clothes. And the outcome, there's multiple outcomes. The outcome is obviously I get some free benefit, right? I get some free clothes from being her friend. But also maybe she really is a lonely person and she gets friendship out of this. It might not be real friendship to me because I just want the free clothes from her. But to the girl that I'm being friends with, it might be a genuine friendship that she really appreciates because maybe she doesn't have any other friends because she knows that people will use her or whatever. So in this case, I think it's kind of obvious that intention is more important, and that is what makes you a bad person, so to speak, or an immoral person, an unethical person, because a lot of philosophers and I also believe that you should never use a person as a means to an end, which basically means you should never use a person as a way to get something that you want. You should always treat people as people in themselves and like a worthy being as themselves and not what they can afford you. Yeah, so stuff like that, of course, intention is always important. I think especially as I'm getting older, I am reanalyzing the intentions that I have for my friendships all the time. I most recently this winter was evaluating the intentions that I had in some of the friendships that I have right now. And I really had to make it clear. I was like, you know, my intention right now is I'm really focusing on my career and I'm really focusing on myself. I don't really have time for friendships like I did before, maybe in university or in high school, because right now I just am working so much and I'm trying to develop myself career-wise that I just don't have time to spend time with my friends. So I think in terms of with other people, intention is always super important, I think. And personally for me, I would say that intention is more important than consequences. It obviously depends on the situation. But yeah, I think reevaluating your intentions, what you want to achieve out of a friendship, maybe what your goals are in terms of that friendship are super, super important. Okay. My second example is one that I actually probably do a lot, and or maybe I'd say one that I used to do a lot. I don't do this as much anymore, and it is just making a lighthearted joke about someone else. I feel like before I was friends with a group of people that did this a lot. They would make jokes about other people, whether it be about their academics, whether it be about their career choices, whether it be about their fashion choices and stuff like that. If you're stuck in a friendship like that, honestly, like it is not good. I definitely have learned, one of the biggest lessons I've learned recently in life is just that your friends really reflect your values and who you are. And even if you say that you don't believe in your friends' certain actions and stuff like that, being friends with them tells a different story. Oh, like this is an example of intention versus consequence. Like I had a group of friends and my intention going into that friendship was I just want a group of friends that I can hang out with when I'm alone, when I'm lonely, during university, and spend time on the weekends with and, just have fun. But the consequences of that were that, being friends with these people who were kind of hurtful to others, making fun of others, that just showed a poor reflection of my values. And I think that even though I intended for this friendship to not really say so much about me and just have these people just to hang out with whenever I needed them, that reflection, that consequence was way more important. And that took me a really long time to realize that intentions and consequences, you kind of have to choose which one's more important in a certain situation. Both are important, I think, but choose which one's more important and figure out what that says about you. Anyways, back to that first original situation that I was just talking about. Making a lighthearted joke about someone. Your intention is obviously just to have a good laugh, make fun, and bond with your friends. Maybe you're saying it so that you can fit in with the group of friends. I feel like that's what I did a lot, was I would try to make jokes about other people even if I didn't want to, because my group of friends did that and I felt like I had to do that to fit in. But obviously the consequences of that is that you hurt someone's feelings probably really badly, and you're just being not a nice person, which I think is personally way more important than fitting in with your friend group and fitting in with the friends that you have. If you feel like you can't be yourself around a group of friends, like, that is not good, and reevaluate the friendships. And it's obviously a lot harder when you're a kid. Like, say you're in school right now, in high school or whatever, it's really hard to just cut these people off like that, like I talk about. But just know that it gets easier as you get older, because you can get really selective with who you want to share your energy with when you're older. And so if you feel like you're out of hope right now, don't be, because it'll get better as you get older. When you're an adult, I love being an adult, honestly. You get to make your own decisions. You get to just make decisions that are best for you and not feel sorry about it, which is really, really good. Anyways, my third example is studying for a test. This one was one I thought about later on, and I thought this one was really important because this one doesn't have to do with other people. So let's say you're a student, a lot of you probably are, and you are coming up on midterm season. So you're obviously trying to focus on studying, and you devoted a lot of time to studying for your midterms and stuff like that. But it turns out that the midterms were just written super hard and you didn't do very well. You did very poorly. Your intention going into this situation is obviously you're trying to get good grades, you're trying to be a good student, and you are, because you are putting in the time and effort to study. But the consequence, what happened afterwards, was you didn't do well on the test. And so depending on the way you see the situation, you might say that you're a bad student, because maybe you see your grade on the test and you're like, oh, I'm such a bad student. I did so poorly on this test and it's just not good at all. But I would honestly agree to disagree with that. I have always been a person that just honestly didn't really care about grades that much. It wasn't that I didn't care about school. It was that I didn't care to make grades a part of my identity and a part of something that I really needed to put towards my identity, if that makes sense. I didn't weigh it very heavily towards who I am as a person in general, because I just knew that grades have nothing to do with who you are. And I think that studying for a test, even though you did really poorly on the test, that doesn't take away from the fact that you did study really, really hard for this and you did put in a lot of hours. It might have just been, there's so many other confounding factors that could have affected the situation that you don't even know about. And I don't think it's fair to blame them all on you. Maybe the teacher just wrote a super hard test and everyone did poorly. So it doesn't actually say anything specifically about you, but it says something more specifically about the test in general. Maybe the teacher was testing you on things that weren't listed in the study guide. And the teacher was like, oh, you don't have to study supply and demand, but then actually puts it on the midterm. Is that your fault? No. That doesn't say anything about who you are as a student, if you're a good or bad student, so to speak. It doesn't, right? Like, there are so many other things that you need to take into account that, actually, you think like, actually, I don't have any control over this situation, and so I'm not going to let it affect my self-image. I've always believed that a grade does not define you, and a grade does not make you a bad student, so to speak. It's literally nothing like that. I think all of us just take school way too seriously. Actually, this is something I've noticed with the students that I'm working with right now. So I teach math, in case you don't know, as one of my jobs, and I've noticed recently that a lot of the high schoolers nowadays are taking they're taking their grades and they're taking their schooling very seriously, which is great because I think education is very important. But I think it's too much when you make that a part of your self-worth and your love for yourself is conditional on the grades that you get. I think that is when obviously it's not as positive and it's not as good for you, because I don't know. I've always just been a person, I'm like, how can you let these numbers define you? They're arbitrary numbers. Also, the things you learn in school nowadays are like so arbitrary compared to who you actually are as a real person in real life. Like, me learning about the quadratic formula has nothing to do with how compassionate I am, how empathetic I can be, and stuff like that. Like, there is just so many different ways of measuring who you are, and I feel like school takes the most polarizing of ways, the most calculation based, the most study based, and stuff like that. When you come out into the real world, there's just so many other characteristics that define who you are. I don't know. That's just me, though. I think personally that school is just not it for comparing and defining your self-worth. Okay, anyways, my dear friends, I am probably going to keep this episode short and sweet and end it off here. We talked a little bit about intention versus outcome. So let me know your thoughts, or just give it a good old thought in your brain this week as you are celebrating the holidays. That being said, I hope you have an amazing holiday. Spend time with your loved ones. Eat some good food. Just enjoy. Take a break. Relax. We all need it after such a long year. I will see you next time for my next episode, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.
And I was like, yo.